Hello and welcome to Drive and Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan,
I'm Ryan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into today's episode, be sure to check out our Patreon. If you head over to patreon.com/Drive and Double Feature Podcast, just for $5 a month, you help support the show and you get some fun bonus content over there. But remember, no main show content like today's episode is locked behind a paywall. But getting into today's movie, we are talking about Taste of Fear, but it's also known as Scream of Fear. And I think it has a couple other titles because what movie on Drive and Double Feature doesn't have five different titles? That's just a part of the deal, right?
What uh what do you think would be worse, tasting fear or screaming fear?
I tasting? Do you think Fear tastes nasty? I mean, like Jeepers Creepers, he seemed to think Fear tasted pretty good, right?
I don't know. Like, do you wouldn't think would you think fear would taste I don't think fear would taste bad per se. If you could just taste the raw emotion of fear,
I am
I don't think it would
questioning
taste
that statement. There's something a little weird about that you don't think Fear would. I guess maybe not nasty, but it would be unpleasant, like bitter.
it wouldn't be unpleasant, but I wouldn't think it'd be gross.
I don't know. What's a good tasting emotion?
I would think satisfied.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I hope so. Tasty. That's an
No,
emotion, right? I'm
one's
feeling
that one's
tasty
gross.
right now. Yeah, yeah, that's like the worst of them. Uh, but this is Taste of Fear. What a weird title. Directed by Seth Holt, and it's starring Susan Strasberg, Ronald Lewis, and Todd, and of course Christopher Lee. It has Christopher Lee because it's a Hammer film. We're back at it with another Hammer film, but we're not doing one of their monster flicks. We're not doing Dracula, Frankenstein. We're doing one of their one-off B movies. Have you ever heard of this one before, Ryan?
Nope, never.
Yeah, I only knew about this one because I own a giant Blu-ray pack of Hammer films, and the poster for this one is like on the front of that collection. So I was just like, it just kind of sticks out to me because I see it all the time on my shelf. So it was time to get into this one. Um, yeah, this is a classic black and white horror movie, 1961, and you know what came out in 1960, Ryan?
1960 what?
Or sorry, yeah, yeah. So you know what came out right before this?
In 1960?
A British director,
Psycho.
Psycho. Yeah, so there is some big Psycho influences here. Dead bodies, dead. As soon as I saw, there's a scene where let me get her name. Penny
Yeah, but
Appleby. Oh, go ahead.
did the director treat all their cast like crap, like cattle, like Alfred Hitchcock did? Then
Yeah,
it's not as good.
yeah, you're probably right on that. Yeah, he did treat him. He probably was a nice guy and made a decent enough movie.
Yeah, it was a too pleasant of an experience on that set.
Yeah, exactly. When I read the behind the scenes and everyone only had good words to say, that's how you know it's a bad movie. Actually, it's funny that I was reading behind the scenes that Anne Todd, who plays the stepmother in this movie, did. She said this movie was dreadful. She did not like this movie at all, and she said she didn't like Penny, or sorry, I should say Susan Strasberg specifically because she was method acting. She thought method acting was stupid, which is it's funny because Susan Strasberg is actually the daughter of the guy who made the method acting the method, which I think is
It's like,
interesting.
oh, father told me how to do this method acting. He said, "Do not get out of this wheelchair." The whole movie.
And then Ann Todd's like, God, I hate this, I hate this lady. I'm gonna push her out of her wheelchair, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna make her walk. But yeah, so Penny Appleby is in a wheelchair, and her best friend has died, so she's moving back to French Riviera. Um, and Robert, who is the chauffeur for the family, is taking her back to her father's mansion. And it starts out pretty. It's a pretty simple start for a pretty simple movie at first, but then we start to unravel a bit, and it becomes a gaslighting movie, classic gaslight movie. Just like how I'm gaslighting you into thinking this was a good movie. I'm gonna try my best, and if you were wrong, if you liked it, I'm gonna gaslight you into thinking it's a bad movie. It's a lose-lose situation.
But Nathan, you told me before the podcast started you hated it.
No, I didn't. Huh? Did I?
Nathan, you told me like
No
you told me
way.
you're telling me you just read Wikipedia before this podcast started, and you just said this movie looked garbage.
Yeah, that I mean, I think you're right. I did say that. Yeah, because that's what I would normally do. Um, so what happens is she gets in and only her stepmother is there, and her father is nowhere around. And for the beginning of the movie, you just think that she's sitting around waiting. And then all of a sudden, she goes to a closet, a storage closet, and there is the dead body of her father. And then she leaves. She falls into like a pool. They call this a pool.
What
What
is
is
that?
that? Okay, we it's the same question. What
They
is
kept
that?
calling it they kept calling it a pool, but one, it's full of greenery underwater, like it's full of like plants and stuff underwater.
Mhm.
And like how deep they needed scuba gear to go to the bottom of it. And I'm like, what is this?
It's so insane, right? It's got like seaweed and it's like maybe a tiny square and it's in an
Yeah,
outdoor patio area. It's small. This thing is minuscule. But
it's somehow the best and worst swimming pool at all at the same time.
yeah, exactly. So bad that like when she in that scene she drops her or she falls in with her wheelchair into the pool and it takes like a whole day for them to get that wheelchair out. It's like, "Oh, they're still getting the wheelchair out. They got to get the crane out and not a crane, but it still is like a whole ordeal to get this thing out of here." And Robert had to wipe that thing down. Um but soon after that scene
But do you
okay.
since she was method acting, do you think she was like, I can't get out of this chair? Like you guys have to bring me stuff because my wheelchair is in the pool right now. So I need you guys
That would
to
have been so
bring
funny.
me. I
Oh,
can't get up. You
I
need to
can't get
bring
up.
me stuff.
She was asking people to pick her up everywhere she went until they
Yeah.
filmed. And then they're like, damn, the scene where she gets her wheelchair back, that's the last day of filming. Oh my God. I do think that's so funny that she's method acting for this movie because it's a low budget movie. This movie is very cut and dry, simple. And also with the name of Taste of Fear, Scream of Fear, you think it would be a little bit more horror centric. This movie's a thriller. Definitely by today's standards, it's just your standard thriller movie.
Straight up, yeah.
Yeah, nothing to get scared of. But yeah, because everybody gaslights her, everyone tells her, "Oh, there's nobody there," but you know, she actually sees it, and maybe you start to question if the dead body's real, if she's just seeing things. I never really question it. It's pretty clear that the dead body's there, and it's about solving that. I think what I did like about the movie, though, is that Robert becomes a friend. She does at least have one person who does believe her, the chauffeur
Hmm.
starts to like devise a plan of how to find the dead body and he starts to formulate like, okay, well maybe your dad actually died and your stepmother is staging the body to try to get you to go to a like a mental hospital because Christopher Lee shows up as a doctor and he makes it pretty apparent
French doctor.
a friend, yeah, so Christopher Lee has an accent and he makes it pretty clear that you're going to go to the mental institution there, you know, you're crazy. He even implies that her being in a wheelchair is actually all in her mind, even though a horse ran over her, I believe, and that broke her back in multiple places so she couldn't walk again.
Yeah, I Christopher Lee gets like top billing in this movie, but he's barely in it.
Oh yeah, he's just a supporting role. I mean, I kind of
I think he has what, like three scenes?
yeah, he has like one where he shows up. He shows up after she falls in the pool, and then he shows
Yeah.
up at for dinner, and then he shows up at the end for like a police interrogation thing. Because
Hmm.
just spoilers, come to find out, Christopher Lee is not a bad guy at all, and he was He knew what was going on the whole time. Um, it's Christopher Lee playing against type, which I think is interesting because he had always been a bad guy. You know, he was like the bad guy in Dracula and all that. So here you imagine Christopher Lee, he's the bad guy. Yes, he's in cahoots with the stepmom. But come to find out, no, he was actually the good guy the whole time and actually working with the police. So I think that's kind of fun.
So is he just like a really crappy doctor or what? Like, just
I don't know. Or is he a doctor? Well, I guess he was in town as the doctor, right? So they, because the
yeah.
stepmom knew he probably was a
Well,
crappy doctor.
well, I guess it did. So I'm assuming like, he knew maybe, or did he know that she was the not who she was?
Yes, yeah. So I'll just explain it now. At the end of the movie, Penny Appleby is not actually Penny Appleby. Penny, the actual daughter, had killed herself, and it's the best friend that came in because through this whole like situation. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, we saw because there was a dead body being pulled out of the water at the very beginning of the movie, and which is not
Mhm.
explained about who it is.
Yes, yeah. And so that's how we connect the pieces. And just through this whole situation of phone calls and stuff, we it was realized that the stepmom never knew that she had killed herself and had plans because the father was dead to have her go crazy so she could take the whole inheritance, everything from his death. So the stepmom's hiding the body to make sure that she could get money because the daughter's going to get money. So it's an inheritance thing, but they want to make her crazy instead of killing her. It does escalate to them just killing her because she's too strong-willed, I guess. Um,
Yeah, well, because I mean, it comes to find out that, like you said, it was the stepmother and the chauffeur were really in cahoots with each other. They were actually lovers,
yeah, which
and
I thought that was a pretty good twist.
yeah, I so like because how it happens is like all this tension builds up, and she's starting to go crazy, and then like they find the father at the very bottom of the quote swimming pool, and
The deep sea swimming pool.
that that the chauffeur needed scuba gear to go find it. And he's like, "Yep, the dead body's in there. Let's go to the cops right now." So they start driving to the cops, and they see the stepmother, and the chauffeur's like, "I'm gonna go talk to her and like tell her off basically." But instead, he like leaves the car
Mhm.
um not in park. He takes the parking brake off, and the car ends up rolling off of the side of the cliff with
Mhm.
her and the dead father's body too, to like kind of explain why both of them died.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then he ends up kissing the stepmother, which makes sense for earlier in the movie because Robert was kissing Penny, and then the stepmom was like, "Hey, don't do that to him. Like, you can't. You can fool around with anybody, but not him." Which then it
That's
makes
my
sense.
man.
Pretty much. That's my man, not yours. And he ends up killing her. And it's really cool how Robert's character shifts in a way because he seems kind of loving, romantic, and then like is the one person that believes, but the whole time he was just he in the end his like whole character changes. He gets this evil smile and he's very cool and calm about killing these people. And he goes to the cops and tells them about the car. And so it's a whole day of finding this. But through revelations, the stepmom learns that the actual stepdaughter killed herself, and this is the friend, which of course is explained at the very end of the movie. Of course, the character gets up from her wheelchair. The not Penny, she gets up from her wheelchair, and it's a long scene of her explaining everything and how everybody's in on it.
I actually really like the ending to this movie.
The twists are
Um,
good. They're really like you can't see them coming.
it's kind of a slow build at first, where she's kind of questioning if she's crazy, but it has a really good payoff at the end.
Yes, yeah, it does. You know what? And let's not even reveal it. Let's not reveal the big payoff in the end because I think it's worth watching for that little fun little like spot at the end of the movie. Because I don't know, like you said, it's a slow burn thriller, but I think where it really shines is the writing, the writing, the twists, how everything works together. Because we've seen a lot of movies here where I feel like I predicted it, and like I'm usually not amazing at predicting movies, but sometimes you can feel it. And I never felt like any of the plot beats were coming in this one.
No, and because they were like there was very small details that they revealed like earlier in the movie, like the Penny had a roommate or they had a friend, and
Mhm.
like they said they show like this dead girl in the lake, and you're like, I don't know what that was about, or but and you kind of forget about that, and then you go back and you go, oh, like okay, now it all makes sense, type of thing. So
Mhm.
I I like ones where like you said, it just kind of it feels like a very genuinely good twist, and it doesn't feel like something that they just pulled out of thin air either, where like
Yeah.
because there's sometimes with some giallo movies where it's just like this little background character or whatever. It's like, oh,
They
I
love
was the
doing
killer.
that.
I was the killer the whole time, and for this reason. And this one, it's like, no, like there's a whole reason why, there's like we didn't have any expectations that like, oh, like this wasn't actually Penny because we didn't know what Penny looked like.
Mhm.
It was that, but we know because this is the first time the stepmother had ever seen Penny, so she didn't know that this girl wasn't Penny when she walked in. And there was other little things too, like um, the stepmother puts the father on the phone to
Mhm.
speak to Penny, which but and she hears the guy's voice, and she realized like you could tell like
Mhm.
us as a viewer like there's something's not right with that scene
Yeah.
because she's just like that doesn't sound like him at all. That doesn't sound like the father.
Yeah.
And
That's the method acting.
and at the end of the movie, he kind of it then she reveals it like, oh, like, well, I actually had called the father when Penny had killed herself. Like I called him and explained everything that happened, so he told me to come up here, and that's why she knew exactly what her father sounded like.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's the thing. There's like a lot of like small writing touches that work for this, and I think that's what makes this movie strong. It actually makes me appreciate Hammer a bit more. See, I like their monster movies. I think they're fun, but I think about this, and then we also covered Cash on Demand a while ago. That was just a really great, cheap little movie, but it was just really well done. It's something very simple. It's very simple. There's one set, but they managed to pull it off really well and make a really interesting movie with lasting impact.
It just kind of goes to show you, I mean, no matter what type of gimmick or visuals that you have in a movie, it doesn't really matter if the writing sucks. But
It's really true.
you have something like this where it's just like, no, there's not really anything impressive to look at or anything, but just the writing is just really on point and kind of grips you into these scenes. So it
Hmm.
kind of rewards you for that. And that something like that really stands out versus like some type of hokey gimmick.
Yeah, exactly. So this one was a nice breath of fresh air. I feel like it was a good movie. I actually came out of this one really enjoying it. Now I would say we're doing this at the end of October. You don't have to watch this for Halloween. This is not really a horror movie at all. Maybe because it had a dead body in the 60s, that was like, oh my God, that's crazy. But nowadays, no, there's no hint of horror.
You just like you're out, you get the trick-or-treaters coming over and you got Taste of Fear playing in the background and get and
It's
what's
just a
and what was that
conversation.
what was that other movie we were talking about? Like, oh, like okay. There was something
Oh
we talked
yeah,
about last year.
I
I
forgot where
forgot.
it's like having it playing in the background and the kids are coming up. You're just like
Yeah.
it's a boring movie. Ooh, so spooky. I've got Taste of Fear on. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, no, but it was still it was a fun watch. I'm happy we watched it. It's one I can easily recommend if you like a good story in a movie.
Yep. I would definitely give it an above average recommend.
Yeah. I would give it a 5.40 out of 10, like you said. Uh, I like that.
It's
But
a 5.4 is technically above average.
it is. Uh, but I think that wraps it up for this one. But Ryan, what are we covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, we are going to be talking about some really gross stuff for Nathan. We're going to be talking about The Incredible Melting Man,
Ooh.
and that is streaming for free on Tubi right now.
Yuck. Well, I'm excited for that one. And if you want to email us, you can email us at drivein doubleFeaturePodcast@gmail.com. You can also check us out on YouTube, Amazon Music, if you're listening to the podcast there. But until next time.
Until next time.